is one way to look at these power phases that women are able to tolerate a variety of different stressors at that time, whatever that stressor is, because fasting can be a stressor on the body, right? But it sounds like what you're saying is in that, days 1 to 10, but also then days, 15 or 16 to 19, those two power phases, there where you can tolerate stress in whatever form that comes. And then I can't help but think of societal implications. And let's say a woman did have a regular cycle, which again, I know that's not the case for everyone. And I know your approach in fasting can help renormalize them sometimes as well. We'll definitely get to that. But it makes me think, let's say a Google Calendar, for example. If a woman knows with, a fair degree of high predictability when they're going to be in those phases, they could almost plan their calendar accordingly.
Exactly. You got it. You got it. That's the concept. I want to take this book and help women understand that and then take it one step further. And I'll tell you, she wrote the foreword, Leanne Rimes. I've been working with her for the last year, and we've had many conversations about how do we plan your touring schedule around your cycle? How do we look at your cycle as a tool to understand when you can go out into the world and do all the type A activities that makes you this amazing, performer? And when do we need to get you back home so that you can nurture yourself and reboot yourself so that you're not tanking your hormones? But what a lot of women are doing is just the same thing, powering through. I'm a woman, see me roar. I can do it all month long. And I want to sort of point out, actually, hormonally, you're not designed to do it all month long.
We've got it easy as men, don't we? Really?
Yes. Yes, you do. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
When you think of that, because we just don't need to think about that in the same way. And I want to highlight, I think this conversation is as relevant for men as it is for women, because we also need to understand the women in our lives and how they could be going through these changes at various times. I've got to be honest, my daughter's currently 10, and I'm thinking, as she gets a bit older into teenage years and things start to change and things start to happen, I want to teach her this stuff, right? I want her to know this from a young age, that rather than having to have issues in her 30s and 40s and then have to get your book and learn. It's like, well, why not learn, that kind of hormonal symphony and how it changes throughout the month, right from the get-go. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Oh my gosh. Again, I appreciate so deeply that you read the book and you extrapolated it into our culture and you really looked at it from a bigger perspective, because that is what I keep saying, that I'm hoping this book is going to crack open a societal conversation that we need to have. And on that particular concept, think about this from a father to a daughter's perspective. And I've talked to many dads about this. When we look at the behaviors of a teenager, so all of a sudden your daughter, let's say she hits 13, her cycle starts, her behaviors start to change. What you're going to see is she's going to be much more inner the week before her period. She's not going to be communicative with you. Teenagers in general are not communicative, but the week before her period, she's going to be really, wanting to withdraw. She's not even going to understand herself. So if you have a conflict that you've got to resolve with her, or a tough conversation, let's say she's 16 and all of a sudden you got to talk to her about her grades or something that she's doing, don't do it the week before her period. You're going to get a wall that's not going to allow her to communicate. But if you knew when she ovulated, if you knew when all those hormones are coming in, when estrogen's at her peak, we become more verbally outward. We're much more extroverted. Mm-hmm. With testosterone there, we're more motivated to resolve a conflict. When we get into the nuance of hormones, we start seeing, wow, how we communicate to women really, or when we communicate to women really matters.
Yeah, man, this goes beyond father-daughter, doesn't it? This goes to, all kinds of relationships, frankly. So let me bring it back from societal implications back to the menstrual cycle, because I want to get to fasting and how it changes throughout the phases. So we're currently up to day 20. So we've had power phase 1, manifestation phase, power stage 2. Then what happens right at the end of the cycle?
Yeah. And so this is really a whole different part of our cycle, and progesterone's coming in. And I spoke of this before, but progesterone, this is the time that your body's naturally more insulin resistant. And if we stop and just think about that one piece for a moment, why would the brilliant body make you more insulin resistant the week before your period? It's because you need more glucose to be in your bloodstream so that you can make progesterone. This is the most important nuance to this conversation, because we have seen massive blankets of media information out there saying women shouldn't do keto, women shouldn't fast. Yes, if we really boil that down, we shouldn't do those two things in this part of our cycle. As you've heard, we can do it well in other parts, but this is the part we've got to keep glucose high. Now, if you talk to any woman, she will tell you that, yeah, the week before my period, I just want to sit on the couch and just eat a bunch of carbs and eat some chocolate. Okay, let's break that down. That's not an undisciplined behavior. That is your body saying, raise glucose so I can make progesterone. Why do we want chocolate? Chocolate has magnesium in it. So you need magnesium to be able to make progesterone. So the body is doing exactly what it wants you to do, but we sit around and bitch about it. We sit around and villainize it. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm irritable. All I want to eat is carbs. Okay, now let's do this in a healthy way. So I call it the nurture phase, because we need to nurture ourselves during that time. We need to know to say no. We need to slow down. We need to eat smart carbs. There's a whole mechanism that needs to change that week before our period.
Yeah. And I think just hearing that can really help so many people let go of guilt and shame. Yes. And, oh, I can't stick to this diet. I can't do this. Why am I craving this? Just that simple reframe is like, no, this is my amazing, powerful, hormonally driven body that's wanting this. And I know in the book you talk about food choices and why, sure, you're craving pizza and ice cream, and you explain why that's probably not the best choice. You can get more natural, real food carbs to kind of nourish progesterone at that time and have, a health promoting effect. I think it's a really beautiful reframe for people. So we've got these separate phases. I think I read in the book, or maybe I saw in one of your YouTube videos, that whilst I've explained that in the power phase, my understanding is that women can tolerate stress. I think you were explaining how in that nurture phase, right at the end of the cycle, that last 7 days or maybe even 10 days, the stress can't be tolerated as well there. Is that right? And do they need to change not only fasting, but even workout patterns and exercise?
Yeah. So this is where the mismatch, the evolutionary mismatch, is really showing up for women, because we're now in a culture where women are in the workforce, women are doing, balancing work, career with a family. We are able to do so much in the time of human evolution. But the problem is our hormones were not meant to push. Our hormones were not meant to have a lot of stress that week before. And we're seeing that what's been so fascinating to me in getting out into the world to promote this book, how many women are missing a cycle. Young women that don't have a cycle or are spotting or having a very light cycle. And that's because we're pushing through this phase. This is the nurture phase. We become stress intolerant. And so we do need to slow things down. But then to your point earlier, how do we do that when the culture doesn't understand this, when society doesn't understand this? We tend to think of ourselves as lazy. We tend to go, I don't know, I just don't feel like doing things right now. So we guilt and we shame ourselves. But if we could reframe that and say, oh, I need to love myself this week. I need to do up my self-care behavior. I need to say no to more things during this week and nurture myself. That's where we're going to start to bring back this balance of hormones for women.
Yeah, I love that. And as I was thinking there, because I have a few patients in mind, and I just thought, well, with that knowledge, let's take movement and working out as an example, right? You could quite easily think,
okay, check this out. I have a free fasting guide for you all. It's free. And it's going to teach you all the basics of fasting. It's going to teach you how to kill hunger when you fast, which is really cool. And it's going to show you how to break your fast, among many other things. All you got to do is click on this link right here and enjoy.
Okay, with that knowledge, for the first 10 days of my cycle, I'm going to be pushing hard. Maybe I'll be going running. I'll be doing HIIT workouts. Maybe day 10 to 15, because testosterone's high and I can build muscle, I just go to the gym or I lift weights for those 5 days. And then maybe in the final week of my cycle, I forget about the gym, I forget about weights, and I practice yoga every night after work. I put on a YouTube video and I do 15 minutes of yoga. That's actually something that I just came up with at the top of my head, but actually it feels like a very simple but practical way that people can immediately implement that knowledge into their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hope if there's any personal trainers that are listening to this, like you nailed it. Instead of putting women on this weekly cycle of working out, we should put women on their menstrual cycle. Are they 28 days, 30 days, 32? I mean, every woman's different. But the easiest way to understand this is that when estrogen is coming in, those power phases, when those power phases show up, yeah, push the workout, do the HIIT training, do the plyometrics, really go into a deeper acceleration with your fitness. Your hormones can handle it. When testosterone comes in, could we take that 5 days and maybe one day you lift really, really heavy weights that for your biceps and triceps, and the next day you do really heavy weights and really push your glutes and your hamstrings and your quads. And then the next day you do abs. Like take 5 days and really power up your strength because you've got testosterone that will help you build muscle. But then to your point, when we move into that nurture phase in the back half, that's where yoga, Pilates, go for a hike, go for a walk. That's your recovery time of all things. Can we bring that fitness aggression or that enthusiasm might be a little bit better? Can we bring it down to a more softer level so the female body can recover?
Yeah, wonderful. Really, absolutely love that. So many practical implications for people. Now, let's get back to fasting. I'd love to understand how you have these 6 lengths of fasts, which all have different benefits. So what do you think? Is that a good place to start?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's a great place to start because this was a concept when we built the book out that really got a lot of attention between me and the editors. And there's a lot of belief, like, aren't we just intermittent fasting? Should I just do 15 hours? Should I just do 16 hours? And when you actually dive into the science, what you see is that once you've switched over into your fat burning system using the tool of something like intermittent fasting, the longer you stay there, the more healing happens. So in the book, I lay out 6 different lengths fasts, and this is the general overview of them. At somewhere between 12 to 16 hours, you're going to switch into the fat burning system. So you will start to make ketones. Now, what's interesting about ketones that I really want to point out is as ketones go up, it also triggers the production of a key neurotransmitter called GABA. And GABA is what calms us. So a lot of people believe when they get into that fasted state, they're going to be really anxious. They're going to be really hangry. But actually the opposite happens because once you make ketones, you get GABA, so you become calm, and ketones will shut off the hunger hormone. So you stop becoming hungry. And all of that happens around 12 to 16 hours. We also have some evidence that inflammation markers come down. We know testosterone for men go up. We see a little bit for women going up. And we know growth hormone starts to kick in between 12 to 16 hours.
Okay, so if you love this video, you're going to want to check out the next video in my fasting series. I know that fasting helps you lose weight without changing your food, but if you're intermittent fasting and gaining weight, then I really recommend that you look at 3 food changes.